topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Triversity Talk. I'm Wendy Stewart, and I'm so happy, as always, to be with you on Wednesday night. Otherwise, I would be alone on Wednesday night. Well, that's not totally true, but I got tremendous enjoyment about doing this show and sharing experience and knowledge with all of our listeners. This has been a great week and a great month for Pride and certainly Triversity, which is located in Milford, Pennsylvania. And of course, we service the tri-state area, the more rural parts of New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. We went on an incredible field trip that I orchestrated. Yes, I finally did something that I showed up at live, and it was to Luna Park, run by the amazing sculptor Ricky Boscarino. And I can't think of a better way to celebrate Pride than making a trip to Luna Park. Ricky is an amazing sculptor, and Luna Park itself was started in 2000. No, I think it was before that. I'm sorry, 1989, if you can believe that, with a hunting cabin. Can you imagine? And now it's like 10,000 square foot castle showcasing all kinds of artworks. He runs workshops from there. He's especially proactive in the LGBTQ community. And Luna Park is located in Lafayette, Sussex, New Jersey. I get my areas in New Jersey mixed up so often because you all know New Jersey is a big state. But you can look it up online. That's LUNAPARC. And continuing right along with Triversity celebrating Pride Month, we arranged a trip into New York today for our teens to go see Moulin Rouge with a dance company and dance school out of Milford, Pennsylvania. It's great. You know, Pride is about celebration. I went to our Facebook page and somebody wrote in there, why do we have to celebrate Pride? Obviously, this is not a Pride supporter, right? I don't know if anybody from our Triversity organization got a chance to answer that, but I'm going to answer that. We need to be proud, okay? The LGBTQ community is something to be proud of. And, you know, recently in the current administration, things have become very tough. Friends of mine are posting things in Florida online that are really pretty awful as to dollars being pulled from their Pride celebrations. Not because people are all mean, they're not, but now businesses are concerned that they're going to lose funding and customers and things like that. So this is something we all need to push back for. Please celebrate Pride no matter where you are. And moving right along on my Pride theme, I had the pleasure of being at the Rainbow Book Fair, which is in Manhattan, New York. You know, you guys, I split my time between New York and Pennsylvania. And the Rainbow Book Fair I was invited to by Jezebel, who's been on this show a number of times. And I had the pleasure of meeting a most incredible author with a nonfiction book. Okay. I want to tell you a little bit about this book in my intro. You've Been Blocked, The Search for Male Perfection. In his new book, Joseph Contorer initiates a provocative discussion for and about gay men in the quest for empowerment and internal satisfaction. Using personal and professional experience, he is a psychotherapist as well. Joseph explains how gay boys are inhibited or blocked from being their naturally true selves, often resulting in perfection seeking and people pleasing within their relationships in the gay community. This is a topic I've had so many discussions with so many of my gay friends about. So to meet someone that has done a book with so many incredible points that people can relate to in this, I'm very excited to have him on. Please welcome Joseph Contorer.
Hello.
And
Thank
there
you
you
so
are.
much. Like
Thank,
magic.
thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank
And
you for having me.
I am so glad we got into a lengthy conversation at the Rainbow Book Fair in New York. And there was just so much to talk to you about.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you gave me the book. And I started reading the book and going through the book. And I mean, you understand, I'm sure other people have told you this. You've been blocked would make an incredible course. It's a whole course.
I know. There's so much critical information. Critical thinking choice checkpoints is what I put
Yes,
in there.
right.
Through
You
through
have
the
your
whole book.
critical thinking checkpoints. Now,
Because
a
there
little
are.
of background on you. How did all this come about for you?
Well, like you said, it is based on personal, professional, and educational experience, but really being blessed to have worked with hundreds of gay clients, and my office was in West Hollywood,
Oh,
so kind of the epicenter for California. And, they share a similar story,
yeah.
some variation, but always, a history of not being naturally comfortably allowed to be themselves in childhood. And then we're familiar with coming out and what that means.
That's right.
So that's when they come to terms with who they are, who they really are, what's been what I call blocked from when they were children. But it happens at critical stages of child development when there's certain milestones and certain things that are
Yeah.
supposed to occur that can't. So it's
And
dealt with
so
delayed.
I want to just delve into that a little
Yeah.
bit. So we're talking from what age on upward?
Okay, so let's say, well, it starts off as soon as, maybe not right when they're a little baby in a crib, but I call it in different dimensions. It starts off at home, what I call dimension number 1 with parents and family. Most parents and family, even today, they basically aren't thinking, oh, I wonder if our son is gay. Maybe occasionally some do, but for the most part, there's a presumption that the child is straight. And, or worse, some parents prefer that and will highly dissuade if they see any indicators, even at younger ages, right? No, boys don't do that, whatever, things like that. So, yeah, so that's kind of the first dimension. And then some interaction outside the home is going to happen, usually by nursery school or, when they're in preschool, whatever it is, or something. And I call that dimension number 2, where they're going to interact with other children, their peers, teachers, religious leaders, if it's some kind of church or community activity, something. Again, there's a presumption, even though there's some improvement in awareness and tolerance about LGBTQ plus and so forth, there's still a presumption that you're going to be what I call straight normal. In other words, they don't think, oh, well, just in case they're gay, we better do that. It's things are set up.
It's an assumption of heteronormal early on.
Yeah, and the trajectory is planned. So that dimension number 2 and number 1, if you don't get it in one, you're going to get blocked some way in the other one, more than likely, and or both of them. And that continues through adolescence. And the irony is, and this is kind of what a lot of the book is about, is the third dimension occurs once they interact or encounter some degree of a gay male community. I call it the GMC, where they are, in a sense, despite the camaraderie, support, and representation that we're so lucky to experience when we come out into that community of some sort, they may be blocked again in a different way, and you're also interacting with many other gay men who are in a similar boat.
So the
So it's
system,
very
it basically,
complicated.
it's first of all, it's very complicated. I had to read
Yes.
and reread so many of your
I
pages.
reread it.
All
I
right, you
reread it.
reread it, but
I do.
it was so interesting. Okay, and with all that being said, they reach a certain point where they're blocked just in general, and to me, it just seemed like, wow, like how does a person get on with their life in a healthy manner when the groundwork from what you're saying has been laid from when they were little kids?
Well, unfortunately, it's an insidious effect because they are basically, we were, as gay boys, reinforced and socialized to be something we are not. So imagine being, oh, you're being a good boy. We learned like basic kind of behavioral reinforcements of when you're good and when you're bad, when you're right or when you're wrong. And so we learn to partake in the blocking ourselves at some point. Like, for example, if the parents are really tolerant, sometimes there's even a gay parent, or you grow up in a more tolerant region of the country or an area, and yet the child might still fight it because there's something in there with the pressure in society with these preconceived expectations that they will be normal. Again, I call it straight normal and gay
Right.
normal. We're
Normal,
both
right?
normal, but we're different. So it's better than it used to be. We're going to talk more about the generationals,
Yeah.
but it's definitely still happening today. My nieces talk about kids come out today, it's no big deal, blah, blah, blah.
I
But
hear that from a lot of the younger people.
yeah, but there's still bullying and there's still complications. And, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, in this case, we're talking about gay men coming in, they're still coming in with issues and they're interacting with other gay men that have issues, because I hear it from clients of all ages still
Right.
that, they're sort of about 10 years behind. They weren't able to naturally, comfortably interact with the same sex. Even if they were comfortable, who else is comfortable? Who else is even out or gay, or we don't know. So they really have to sort of play catch up. And so the unblocking thing really can't functionally start most of the time until they're an adult.
Yeah.
And that's if and when they really want to do that work on themselves. And that's a little bit of what this book is. Knowledge is power.
Right. But that was going to be my question, because you
Yeah.
interviewed how many people for this book? 500, you said? How many?
Well, I'm just working with hundreds of
Right,
clients over
hundreds
the
of people.
years.
That's a lot of people. Okay, so
Yes.
you've based
Hundreds
your
of different stories
and
and lives.
hundreds of different stories. But within that, did you ever meet anyone that was just super comfortable in their own skin, or not
I
really?
think there's some that are much more,
More than
um,
others?
yeah, more evolved or more internally content than others for a variety of reasons. And it's not always necessarily because, oh, they had cool parents or they grew up
Yeah.
somewhere. It depends on their personality and other factors.
Sure.
But for the most part, there's a lot they have to overcome and continue to overcome, you know, I call it the haves and have-nots in some regard. What what parts of our lives we did not have that we either may never have, like when you compare it to straight men, they don't have to come out of anywhere. They don't have to walk away from a group or a meeting and wonder, what are they thinking about me? Or I wonder what they think about gays, as an adult at work, or still trying to figure out how to get along with their family, even if they are out as an adult.
Right. There's all
Because
that judgment that you're talking about, a lot of judgment for gay men
yeah,
going on all the time. And I couldn't help thinking about, because a lot of my guy friends talk about the dating sites like Grindr and all the other ones.
yes.
Then there's really a lot of judgment.
So
A
you've
lot.
got some people that have all been damaged, many of them, or judged, like to your question, are any of them really okay with themselves? Some are more confident than others, for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it could be because they didn't have bullying, or they didn't have, they maybe were less obviously gay and took advantage of it, or for whatever reason. And sometimes even then they know in the back of their mind that it's this dirty little secret, and they're not being their authentic self, and they're feeling like I'm sort of forced to do this. So we're used to making things look good, right? For, you want to talk about hair and makeup and design and the
Yeah, the shiny
creative.
penny, I call it. You're
Yeah,
attracted to
right.
the shiny penny.
And so then if this is constantly reinforced in our childhoods by our parents, by our peers, by our teachers, and then we're bringing that in all together with other people that are in that similar boat, the standards are very high,
Yeah.
within the gay male community, as far as mainly based on aesthetics and
Yep.
materialism. Similar things that you would think of Hollywood, or the entertainment industry, or certain more cutthroat, the modeling industry, or even just high school cliques like social climbing. There
Right.
is that aspect, and I wouldn't even say it's the majority of the gay community. We're going to talk about the M ranking, but there's enough of a presence of this that a lot of gay guys, maybe some that you talked to just about, recently about the book, would agree there is this theme in the community that you have to be perfect, or you have to be just so in order to be accepted.
But it's an unreal perfection, okay? You have
It's
to be the shiny
unobtainable.
penny. If you're an older gay male and you're out there looking, younger gay males will be attracted to you if you have money. If you don't have money, it makes it so there's so
Or they
much,
fetishize you for, like,
right, or
in a
they
sexual
fetishize it.
way,
Yeah.
but that's it.
But there's so much superficiality to try and cut through. And
Hmm.
I mean, based on what you're saying and based on all the clients you've had that have come to you, I mean, have you seen anybody cut through all of this, find their authentic
Hmm.
selves, and get to the other side,
Sure.
considering all the pressures that are out there?
Yeah. Um, well, that's the idea of the antithesis of seeking external approval and perfection and people
Right.
pleasing, is figuring out how can I become internally satisfied, and what are the ingredients that would facilitate that. So you can say whatever you want. It's certainly easier said than done,
Of
but
course.
really it's kind of the therapy focused on how important is it for you to have that approval. Do you need, I mean, in some cases they're potentially cut out of wills and banished from the family, and
Yeah,
there's other reasons
I've read
that
all these stories. Yeah.
right. But outside of that, and even with that, how much is your, like you said, your self-respect, your integrity? And I talk about becoming unblocked and internally satisfied means you are maximizing your introspection to
Who you are,
yourself,
your inner
your
self.
insight,
Yeah. Your
your
truth.
your individuality,
Yeah.
your integrity, and your intimacy. Those are all the you factor pieces of unblocking.
It's funny that you bring up intimacy because I think one of the things I've heard a lot about is the lack of real intimacy in gay
Hmm.
relationships. And
Hmm.
again, I'm not the therapist. I'm just telling you, everyone talks to me. I'm the girl that everybody talks to.
You're pretty good.
Well, it is
I
very,
go to you.
oh, thank you. Coming from you, that
Uh-huh.
means everything. Let me
Yes.
think what my hourly rate would be. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But it bothers me because I know so many gay men. They're so wonderful human
And they're
beings,
all single, aren't they? A lot of
and
them?
there's. I know some
Always.
older gay couples that have been together for forever.
Right.
When I see someone on social media that's celebrating their 24th anniversary or their 38th, it makes me so happy. And when couples I know that have children now, my God, it,
Amazing.
it's like, and why does that make me happy? Because it's heteronormal, not that I'm into heteronormal, but they've reached something where they're not going to be judged. They have a family or they have each other. They've built a world.
Well, they've normalized it. So
Right.
we can be
Normalized.
parents, even though we're a same-sex couple. It's
Right.
still a relationship. It's still a family. We're still parents. We still love our children. You
Right.
know, we're gay normal, and we have kids, and we have marriage equality, which is a huge mess. I was shocked that I saw that in my lifetime. And that's already
Right.
been 10 years, over 10 years.
Right. Right. We have
So,
marriage equality, and yet from what you're saying here, people aren't equal inside. They're not feeling equal.
or they don't, or, there's another complex piece in here as far as, do they really want that, or are they able to do that, or do what it takes? Let's go back to the intimacy. If
Yeah.
you're talking about what does intimacy mean, sharing your reality with another person. And you
Sure.
have to be pretty comfortable, like you said before. What are any of them comfortable? When you get to that point that you're okay with yourself, and your sexuality is a big part of that identity. It's not all of it, but it's a lot of it.
Sure.
And dealing with all the coming out and the history of being blocked and whatever their challenges and injuries, we call them, from the past are, and put that together and try to find somebody that you're compatible with, that is mature enough and genuinely invested enough in being intimate with another person. And it's not just sexually. Are you connecting? When couples come in, sometimes I'll ask them, why are you together? What was it that it went beyond the second or third date, or the when you hooked
Sure.
up, or da da da? What, or the long-term couples, the old married couples, right? Why and how have they done it? And we have a lot of other complex things related to that in the gay male community, like open relationships and the confusing boundaries.
Well, yeah, and I do want to talk to you about that because
Yeah.
that's been a topic of discussion I've had. So, why do people want open relationships? They've met someone, they're committed, and one of my friends
And they
said,
might even be married,
right, and
and
they
they're
are
still
married.
doing it.
But one of
Yeah.
my friends explained to me, as you get older, sexually, you may not be, you love each other, but you're not sexually attracted to each other. So then you go outside your marriage commitment to get sex elsewhere. And then I found myself wondering um, if that happens a lot in the straight community as well, right? We call it having an affair or whatever. And the old
Or
stereotype
swingers, or whatever. Remember
swingers,
in the
right?
70s and
Swingers. So what
80s.
what do you think about that?
I think that it's extremely common, open relationships, and it's on social media. The younger gay guys are like, why can't I find someone that really wants to commit, and blah blah blah. And for some reason, it's the boundary thing. You think, because it is a same sex and it's two men together, a same sex relationship. And really, the marriage thing, you would think, would have an effect on sort of setting up a frame that we can follow, a model, right? Similar, like you said, the heteronormative. Um, there's some couples that each one of them has a boyfriend,
Yeah, I know them.
and they
That's
don't care, or they all play together, or they invite other gentlemen over, or it's playtime in the locker room at the gym. So it's kind of this vague thing, and then they come home and they have their significant other, and neither one cares, or they have different ground rules. I
right.
mean, is it up to you or I to make a value judgment and say, well, that's
We can't
wrong?
judge that. No.
No, but my answer to that is, well, you have to find somebody who has similar values as
Yeah.
you. Anybody does, gay or straight, and that's going to include what and how do you define a relationship. And monogamy, there's things that come up with these new terms. Did you ever hear ethical non-monogamy?
No, can you explain to me what ethical non-monogamy? I can't even
It
say it.
means both people sort of agree to cheat. It means
Okay,
that there's some
was it
arrangement.
ethical? Their agreement made it ethical.
They're more flexible.
Right. Right.
Like a lot of couples, and they'll say, "Oh, we're open," and
I've heard that.
or they'll say, "Oh, we're not open," and then one of them's still sneaking around and doing it on the side. I mean, I hear this all the time, if it's okay and it works, there's thruples, another thing where there's three
I
gentlemen
can think
together.
of three distinct
Do you
thruples
know
that I grew
anybody?
up. Disaster. They ended.
Sometimes it's a disaster.
Yeah,
Other times
disaster.
it can work. It didn't work so good with the lesbian throuple I had as clients. I go, oh, this isn't good. But there was one throuple and they worked great. They were a little bit older. And
Okay.
you don't ask questions like, well, do you have a schedule of when you
Right.
guys play around or this or that? It just somehow there was one couple that was together and they brought another gentleman in. Again, there's the boundaries and the open relationship under that umbrella. But like you said, I think it can be complicated
Yeah.
because if the ground rules, if they don't follow them, there's some that haven't had sex in years or they never really had a sexual component. Or like you said, one person becomes less sexually motivated or they sort of lose interest, but they still appreciate the companionship. And what are they going to go find someone better?
Right.
So they
Right.
stay in the relationship
Yeah,
and
and then
then,
they go out of the relationship for sex, and
but they're not having an affair. See, with it straight people, it's more like, oh no, you're married, you're not supposed to have it. They're not going to be establishing like an official, like approved open relationship policy. I think that's pretty rare with straighter couples compared to gay.
well, you know what? So I talk to
Do you
everybody
think
about
it's common?
everything. I'm not quite so sure because
Or
it could
there's arrangements, let's
there's
say
a range,
sometimes.
but you know
Yeah.
what? Having sex, whether you're gay or straight, outside of your marriage or your togetherness, is an arrangement. And again, more in Europe than here. It's just way more acceptable. I will say again, this whole bigger picture, you had me thinking just in general, like after going through your book, I wonder about straight males and how all this applies. If a lot of this is got to do
Hmm.
with the challenges placed on males for their
Hmm.
masculinity by society.
Sure.
That's a much bigger picture, but it
I
made me.
agree. I think it's a problem for, and we can go over those M ranking, the different
Yes,
components
and I,
of that
I
if
would
you
like you
want.
to share that. I wanted to get to that. Let's talk about
Okay.
MRAP.
So the M ranking is sort of like a market value. It's a little um,
Right.
term I came up with, and they're all M's. But the biggest outlier for that seems to ironically be masculinity, which implies non-gayness or less gay or straight acting, straight passing, right?
Right.
And the other pieces of that puzzle are manhood, how
Yeah.
well endowed they are, okay, and model looks, how good they look, how attractive they are. Money and materialism
It's
kind of
all
can
M.
grease the wheels, right?
Right.
And the last one is mainstream appeal, like how popular, how much do they literally, can they sort of blend in both worlds, so to speak?
Yeah.
But to your point about do straight men have issues, with the M ranking thing? Probably, but we're in the book I talk about shame magnification and all the
Absolutely.
blocking different dimensions and sort of these unique situations that we deal with, straight male privilege, things that we have to deal with that they don't, whether they realize it or not. It might even be sort of like unknowing or unsuspecting. Um, it Those differences play in. So if a straight man was going to have issues about how masculine they were, right? Well, they're not worried about passing for straight. They're not worried about other gay men accepting them to date them or have sex with them. So that piece, that's why the M ranking really is particularly relative. And the narcissism, which is another piece
That
of
that is okay, and that is a huge topic. And
it's kind of
again,
a very delicate subject too,
it's a delicate subject, but
because it's not very flattering.
it's not flattering, but it's at epidemic proportions. Like, why now? Is it
Um,
are people born this way, or is this learned behavior, or is it a little bit of both? What makes a narcissist?
okay, so the basic, first of all, people think about narcissism. They think about, vanity or selfishness or egocentrism, just in general terms. From the pathology piece, like more of a therapy kind of technical analysis, would be a lack of empathy towards others. That's kind of the basic component.
Right.
So with gay men, what I stressed in there is I don't think that most gay men are full-blown narcissistic personality disorders. I think generally speaking, there's a higher presence of narcissism and
Traits.
some, and there
Narcissism
are,
traits.
right, traits and features versus full-on characterological
Right.
disorders. But there's probably more characterological disorders among gay men than straight men because of the abnormal blocking, because
It
of being
starts at a very
invalidated,
early age, right?
right?
Right.
So it's kind of like the narcissism is a cover for deep insecurity. We call it a narcissistic injury. And so, and the gay community, what do they value? The M ranking. If you're, how well endowed are you? And do you go to the gym? And do you have a six pack? And what kind of car do you drive? And
Oh, all you have to
superficial.
do is go to Fire Island. And I know you're not in this part of the country, but you
Well,
know
I
about,
know about it.
oh
It's
my
like
God.
it's like your little West Hollywood sort of.
But it's all on an island. And then there's the area in between Fire Island, the Pines, and Cherry Grove.
Yeah,
They call it the meat rack. We're talking
right.
like every single thing, all the criteria that you're talking about.
It's sex,
It's a tiny
sexual.
Speedo, it's a six pack, and it's completely fascinating to me that someone could be so completely focused on that,
Hmm.
And I really wanted to talk to you about, because I really want to understand why, because I have to tell you, females, gay or straight, are just, you'll get some that are like that, but for the most part, definitely not. Why
The
is it a male thing?
um, goes back to perfectionism and
Perfectionism.
looking a certain way. We learn to make ourselves look good. You just kind of inherently know you better have a gym membership, or you better, drive a nice car. You better, these, again, not everybody, and maybe not even the majority of gay men, but
But
enough
there's
of this kind of thing is present, this value system, right? It is a market value. And, you don't have to run around Fire Island or West Hollywood. You don't have to buy into the M ranking. Um, that's partly what, maybe reading a book like this, and which generates discussions like we're
Of
having
course.
here, and awareness. So it's like, no, why do I care about that? It's like, I want to look good, and I still like being healthy or working out, or I like what I like, but the emphasis, the extensiveness of it is crazy. Like you said, in your example, the Fire Island thing, um, it's very cutthroat,
Yeah.
but it comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a compensation, like being perfect, being the
Right.
best. Think about, you could drive around and go, where's the gay bar? Oh, there's all the Range Rovers and the Mercedes and the hottest
Sure.
guy, best music and the best clothes and the best brand new electronics and da 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 da. And you go into an old dumpy neighborhood, and all of a sudden it comes up and it's nice and it's been regentrified. Oh, the gays moved in there. Like,
Well, yeah, that's you hear that everywhere.
right?
The gays are moving in, the real estate values will go up.
It's true. So those are gifts in some way. They're sort of also a byproduct. It doesn't, people
Sure.
say, oh, well, you have the gay gene. Well, they're literally, maybe there's some kind of genetic predisposition somewhere. They haven't figured it out. But just that little kind of catchy phrase, it didn't happen by chance.
Right. Right.
It's
It's
important, it was really connected back to establishing a provision of safety for ourselves, because if you looked good or could pass for straight or got people off your back or didn't have negative attention or anything that would jog someone's curiosity, you kept yourself safer. So they equate it, which makes sense, to safety.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. In the same way, I think you said in the same vein, gay boys learn to comfort others as a
They
mechanism,
accommodate others.
yeah, of self-protection.
Well, it's
It was,
reinforced by
yeah,
just
it's
whether they
reinforced.
realize it that they're doing it or not, because the tricky part is at that young age, they're not cognitively really aware, and we don't want to sexualize our children, right?
Right.
But if they're going to eventually identify as a gay man, once they realize it, usually by adolescence for sure, um, they know something's different, and they internalize that stuff, and it just sort of lies there dormant, maybe until by the time they're of legal age and they're a legal adult, and
Yeah.
they know, especially nowadays with social media and the internet and the apps like Grindr, you said, they know that, well, it's there for me, and once I get to that point, or I go to college, or I'm 18, or I have access to that, I can start becoming a little more unblocked or come out and go and experience it, which they really couldn't do in a natural way when they were supposed to as an adolescent.
The coming out really isn't unblocking from what you're saying. It's a form of another
You're
thing.
acknowledging, okay,
Right.
I'm gay, and
Right.
pretty soon that becomes old news. Okay,
Right.
so then now what?
Well, now you've got all the blocking behaviors,
All
right?
that
As
crap
you
that's never been
all the
dealt with.
crap that's going to allow
Yeah,
you to fit in and get approval and make it okay for you. This is very complex. While we're talking, there
yes.
is a group I was thinking about that I don't think fits into the group we're talking about, like from West Hollywood or the Fire
Hmm.
Island Pines.
Right?
Bears. Okay. My first experience with the
Yeah,
bear community, I thought, what a waste. This is just like a straight man, only they're
yeah,
gay. Right.
yeah,
And I'm not talking about bears that pump at the gym. I'm talking about the big hairy bear with the belly, and other bears find them attractive, and no judgments on my part. They just
right.
don't fit into like to me the M factor, although maybe they do, because is the bear hyper masculine? Maybe
I think
that's
there is that element. It's interesting what the gays have done is come up with different subgroups. So
yes,
bears and chubby chasers
yeah,
and circuit boys, like we were talking the Fire Island WeHo,
right,
and nerds and geeks and da da da, just like you would in high school, right? The little cliques. So
right.
we do have our adult version, and then the boy next door. Um, but so the bear thing, or the chubby chaser, or the rebel, or then there's men that are totally closeted or on the DL or married to women, yet they're
Yeah,
completely
there is
gay.
that group too. Yeah.
And they've made a decision. People always say, well, how many gay men do you think really are living? What percentage of men who are gay actually live their lives somewhat open, acknowledging their gayness? It's hard to say
Yeah.
because it's based on self-report.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, how do you get the statistics on that?
You
So
just hear from different clients over the years and sort of on the apps how many men, they're on their apps and their wife doesn't know, and they might do that the whole marriage.
right, and now
Just like
social
they did
media,
it with women on the side, like a mistress.
yeah. Yeah. And now with social media, all of that, I think a huge component here is the explosion of social media.
Social media really, supersized this when Grindr came out. Imagine a GPS system
It is. It's
for
like
gay
amazing.
men.
Right.
And that
Right.
was just the beginning. So there's people that they're on Grindr inside the Abbey or a bar or somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm 5 feet away from you, or wherever you are at the gym, at any, you're out
Just
of
if I
town.
go to parties where I know people, there's 3 or 4 people in the room, you see them on their phone, you can tell, I
Yeah.
can tell by the hand movement. Oh,
What?
they're on Grinder right now.
Right. You can hear an occasional beep,
Yeah,
the sound. Yeah. So the social media is really, was a wonderful, brilliant thing, but it also created a monster. And
yeah.
back to narcissism, what are we doing on social media? Taking selfies,
It's
posting, hi,
it is
here's Wendy. I'm at such and such having coffee. It's me, 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 me. There's this real kind of exhibitionism,
sure.
and not, it reinforces the narcissism and generationally. But the gay community, because of superficial values in the gay male community, I think that reinforced it as well. The M ranking
Yeah.
and the perfection and the social climbing. So you have to be able to let a lot of that go and really be okay with that, really be okay with yourself.
So with your clients, and I know it's
Yeah.
different for every client, but the ones that
Yeah.
you feel have gotten in touch with their authentic selves, okay?
Hmm.
What kinds of techniques have you used?
Well, a lot of it is really sort of pushing the pause button and being curious, like, well, here's what you're doing, or here's how you're thinking or behaving, or the actions you're taking. And is that working for you? Is that necessary? What are you getting from that? Is there a different way to think about that? Because that's kind
Is
of
there
what therapy and
So you do what I call prompts, okay? Your
yeah,
questions are prompts to get people thinking, which is great.
and being curious about it, and really, instead of continuing to act out the same behavior, is it worth it to you to start to figure out how to consciously de-emphasize, I call it extinguish, this
Extinguish
need
them.
for approval?
It's
As
hard because,
it's very hard
and I
because
I
it's
ask this, and
reinforced.
kudos to your clients that have been able to do that, because I feel now more than ever, because of social media and because of how we are positioned and because of, what did I read yesterday? There's now more trillionaires than ever. I think like human beings are constantly being told now you're not good enough, right? I grew up in
Hmm.
the time of Donna Reed, where mom stayed home and baked pies, dad went to work, the house was
Yeah,
little but pretty. You know what? That was all okay. As a kid, I aspired to that.
yeah,
I grew up in the Bronx. My aspirations
yeah.
were, yeah, I wanted to travel, I wanted to be a model or whatever, but they were not grandiose. And now, like in my adult years, I constantly feel, and this is true for your clients in the gay
Hmm.
community, they're constantly being told they're not good enough. If it, not just by the community itself, by the social media, by the dating apps, by the person that strings them along on the dating app. And I've got a million stories on that. That is just like so sick to
A
me,
lot
right?
of game playing with
Games,
social
why?
media.
Right, right,
Um, some of them like the chase, some of them like the validation. Here we go
right.
with that, right? Some of them are afraid of intimacy when it comes right down to it, and that's one way to sabotage it. They might not really want it. They might not
They
really
might not
be able to
want it.
do it. And that's okay. It's kind of,
Yeah, but it's
um,
often hurtful for the person that
oh,
goes
yeah.
on one of those apps and sites and thinks, and they genuinely want to meet someone. And it amazes me. I'll go to these big gay events and
Hmm.
people want to meet other people and they just don't. I'm not talking
I
about a
know.
hookup. I'm
I
talking
know.
about the ability to have a relationship. And I think there is just something missing here, Joseph. And I don't know what the key is. I don't know what the
Well,
answer
like
is.
you said, it's complicated, and the intimacy avoidance,
Right.
and you're talking about two different people. How out or how unblocked are they? How
Right.
evolved are they? What was their family background? how comfortable are they? Are they really genuinely serious and honest that they want a relationship and are ready to embrace that? And what does that entail? Just like a straight, any relationship that's
Sure.
a marriage, so that you have to work at it. Are they ready to commit?
Yeah. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to them, or do they want to be alone?
And maybe, well, statistically, there's very large percentage of gay men in their 40s, 50s, and older that are not attached.
Absolutely.
And some of them want it that way, or they're okay with that way, or
They're
they
okay with
just sort
it.
of got jaded and figured, well, this is just as good as it's going to get. So I'm just going to be single, or I'm going to have a lot of
And I have
friends.
heard that. And you know what? Maybe at the end of the day, that's okay. If you're
Yeah.
happy with yourself, I was married to a mirror image of myself. He passed away. We were married for 38 years. I'm
Wow.
by myself
Oh my
now,
God.
and I'm having a grand old time. Um,
Uh-huh.
People that I meet that want to go out on a date or whatever, I can't. And it's not because I'm not over the other person. The other person is a mirror image of me. They'll always be with me, but it's because I am really good. I feel good, and I wake up every day. I'm curious. I want to know what the next adventure is. I feel like it's just all out there, and I don't know if,
Uh-huh.
for me personally, if I want to be hauling through life right now with another person
And
on that
starting
level.
over with what that would entail, even for someone
Right.
as high
At
functioning
this
as
point,
you.
tonight when we're talking here in the middle of Pride Month, I don't wanna. It's just great. I'm feeling really good, and I have to give it up to all the gay men out there that are okay. They're okay with who they are,
I
and
do too.
bless you for the ones that you have helped find their authenticity and made things okay for them, that we only have one life on this earth. There may be one on the
Yeah.
other side. I can talk about that on another show, but
Okay.
here we are. This is the hand we've been dealt. We might as well make it as great as possible.
Well, you have an amazing attitude and quite an inspiration to a lot of people, and particularly in the gay community for many years. So
People have told me that, but
you're
honestly,
remarkable.
it's just who I am. And
Mm-hmm.
again, my
It
life
is who
has
you.
not been a cakewalk, but I deal with
Right.
tragedy the same way. We are down to like the last 2
I
minutes.
know.
Let's talk about, and it goes too fast. And I knew with
That's
you,
okay.
and it goes super fast. The book is You've Been Blocked. Where can people find this book?
The book is on every online site, particularly Amazon, everyone's favorite
Cool.
place. It's in all four formats, like including the Kindle and an audiobook that I narrated myself. And you can get it on Spotify, you can get it like the audiobook. You can order it on most any online site. It will be in libraries and
Love it.
smaller little gay artsy
It needs to
bookstores.
be in libraries all over.
I think it's
Absolutely.
almost more important for straight people to read it, and parents
Honestly, I think it's an
and
amazing
teachers.
handbook, and there's so many incredible points in here. Do they get the bookmark with it? I have the
If
book.
they order it from me on TikTok or directly on my
Yay.
website, which is theblockedbook.com,
Yeah.
I will sign it. I will put a bookmark and a pen. Where's my pen?
You
I
have the
have
pens
these.
too. Oh, my pen
Did I
is.
give you one of those?
You
You've been
did. I got
blocked
the pen
pens.
and the shopping bag.
Yeah, I'll throw in a bag too,
Yes,
and I'll sign it.
and you'll sign the book. This is great. I have to talk really quick because I always take a picture of my guests, but I have one last question for you. What are your plans to teach this as a course?
I hadn't thought about that, but it's an idea. And I actually even thought about a follow-up book, depending on the response from people, of actual stories from
Yeah.
people being blocked or unblocked. But it could be included in as some part or an adjunctive resource to an actual therapist training program, like a graduate program in LA they have at Antioch, where there's an LGBT track,
Right.
because it does address some of those complicated issues, and it's kind of a little more scaled. This was a second or third version of the original one, where it's pretty much I tried to make it a little less theoretical, even though it is somewhat, and kind of more what's going on out in the trenches.
Yeah.
So
And it was broken down into English in many of the pages where I
good.
knew exactly what you were trying to
I'm
communicate.
so glad.
Well, no,
Yeah. So
I would love to see this as part of a course. I really would, and I'm just throwing that
I
into
will
your
work on
arena.
that. Definitely. It could be continuing education, and it
Yeah,
could be like a workbook when you ask, like, how do you actually, unblock yourself, or what are some,
yeah,
logical steps to take?
right. Or a 6-week workshop. My wheels were turning, and that's
Yeah.
what I am channeling that for you. Okay, I want to take my
Okay.
picture before we say adios. Very cool to have you on tonight. I mean,
Thank you so much for
what you've
having me.
done really is exceptional, and I knew it the day that I spoke to you. I have wonderful authors come on this show, but I don't have
Yeah.
anyone that's done a book like this.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, that's the thing, I have to tell people it's not heated rivalry. Sorry. It's not a fun, steamy, blah blah blah, hot romance book, but we need to have some, really serious nonfiction book. There was one gentleman that came up to me at the book fair that he said, "We have a book club, and it's time we do a
Perfect.
nonfiction
Right. Right.
instead
And
of heated rivalry or whatever other stuff they were reading."
so many areas for discussion here and talking
Yeah,
points. And thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you
thank
to
you.
everybody who tuned in. Enjoy your Pride Month. By the way, I keep saying Pride Month, but honestly, Pike County Pride, we are having our event August 2nd. We all know Pride now goes on for 3 months, and that
All
is really
summer. Yeah,
absolutely right. Thank you,
right.
everybody. See you next week. Bye
Thank
bye.
you, Wendy.
Bye bye,
Appreciate it.
Joseph.
Goodbye.